So how could they not detect Hamas's hang gliders? And took 6 hours to respond. Boy, was I wondering the same thing. I couldn't get into this in my surveillance video because I didn't have enough time, but check it out. So when they finished this fence around the Gaza, they made a big stink about it and were just bragging about all of the state-of-the-art technology that they had. So at the top, they have all the cameras, radars, and sensors. It's 20 feet high, and they also have an underground concrete barrier. So this is the side view. So you start with the observation tower. There's 2 fences and then an area where nobody can walk by. If anybody does go to this zone, then the fence sets off a very loud alarm. And the only thing anybody can come up with is its coordinated efforts to get past the wall. I want to read a little bit from this article real quick. During liberation struggles, those who support the invader or occupier often point to such practices as evidence of barbarity and lawlessness of resistance, which justifies the continuation of oppression and occupation.
Hamas was trapped behind an impregnable, ultra-high-tech, billion-dollar border fence that looks straight out of a zombie movie. So how did they break out? To keep Hamas in Gaza, Israel built what they refer to as the obstacle. The fence is 6 meters high, and under it is
a deep underground concrete wall.
But that's not all. Remote-controlled drones, remote-operated cameras, remote-operated gun turrets with AI-assisted targeting, remote seismographs to detect any digging nearby. It's all wireless, with solar panels and battery backups to save it from power outages. It can be operated from a central location and doesn't need thousands of troops patrolling up and down the border. On top of that, Israel's installed the high-tech Iron Dome missile defense system, which can automatically detect rockets and shoot them out of the sky. So Gaza is surrounded by drones, AI gun turrets, and an expensive high-tech fence. How did Hamas get through all of that? It started at 6:30. Small drones packed with explosives flew out of Gaza. They flew directly to their targets, the mobile internet towers and the observation towers. They dropped explosives on the towers, taking them out. They also dropped explosives on the tanks stationed along the border. Paragliders took off, covered by rocket fire, attacking any troops nearby. Then Hamas militants charged at the fence with bulldozers, explosives, motorbikes and trucks. They were able to drive right up to it and take it down.
If you've been wondering why it took the IDF, one of the strongest militaries in the world, 6 hours to respond to the festival attack, watch this video.
Did somebody in the government say stand down? That is a legitimate, non-conspiracy question. So I've been to Israel many times. The whole country's a fortress. I find this very hard to believe. I've been to that Gaza border. You cannot go 10 feet without running into a 19-year-old with an AR-15 or an automatic machine gun that is an IDF soldier. Right? The whole country is surveilled. We don't talk about Israeli politics very often, and most Americans don't know this. The last 9 months, Israel was on the brink of civil war. There were hundreds of thousands of Israelis taking to the streets because Bibi Netanyahu was basically redefining the Israeli constitution. There were protests planned this week against Netanyahu, where they anticipated tens of thousands of people to take to the streets. That's all gone. Netanyahu now has an emergency government and a mandate to leave. I'm not willing to go so far that saying that Netanyahu knew or there was intelligence here, but I think some questions need to be asked. Was there a stand down order? 6 hours? I don't believe it.
Netanyahu intentionally let Hamas kill Israelis. Both the IDF and the Israeli Air Force both stood down for 7 hours. You won't believe what a Jewish charity leader told me today.
Israel has the most sophisticated intelligence in the world. There was no way the government didn't know that that was going to happen. We're friendly with several good people in Israel. One is Rabbi Hanania Weissman. He knows a lot of people in Israel. He knows confidential sources that he shared with us their information about the stand-down order. And he sent out a missive that, indeed, the IDF was given stand-down orders, both the Army and the Air Force, 7 hours to stand down while those attacks took place. And this allowed the terrorists to come in and begin slaughtering and torturing the citizens. Personally, I think that this situation is akin to a family keeping a rabid dog in their home and then blaming the dog when the baby gets bitten. The parents needed to remove the dog many weeks ago, right, before the dog had a chance to injure somebody in the family. So I look at the government of Israel, and they really needed to make sure that these people did not proliferate on their borders. And so they are held partially accountable for having to now go kill God's creations in order to secure their border. This should never have happened.
Netanyahu